Thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to have you here on the show today. So yesterday, Trump had mentioned, or he was asked about how many troops were going to be left in Syria. Do you have any idea on what's going on there? Are we leaving? Are we taking them?
Rebecca, we had a classified briefing from the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs on Thursday on the Armed Services Committee, which is consistent with my consultations with them. We expect at least a few hundred troops to remain in Syria. Remember that what's been in the news over the last 2 weeks is all about northern Syria up on the Turkish border, but we also have a presence on the southern Syrian border with Iraq. That base is really critical to stopping the return of the Islamic State, as well as preventing Iran from gaining a stable ground path from Iranian territory into Lebanon, where they can fund and support Hezbollah with heavy weaponry to use against Israel. So I think at a minimum we're going to maintain that southern base, which it's been a long time that it's been under any kind of attack, or our troops have been conducting active military patrols and coming into enemy contact from. There's a possibility, I think, that we may maintain some troops in eastern Syria. I think the original concept of the operation was to relocate our troops that were between two warring factions in northern Syria into northern Iraq to join troops that were already based there to continue to fight against the Islamic State. I think the President is currently considering what is the best course of action based on the professional military judgment of his Joint Chiefs.
Okay, all that sounds pretty a lot, actually. It sounds pretty technical, and for somebody like me who maybe doesn't follow too closely, what does that mean for us here back in the United States?
Well, I think we should keep in mind what our main interests are in Syria. One, we want to prevent the return of the Islamic State. Two, we want to prevent Iran from militarizing the foothold it has in Syrian territory. Those troops are there to achieve both of those interests, to ensure that we maintain positive control over Islamic State detainees, that we don't allow them to set up a physical safe haven from which they can grow stronger and then launch attacks against the United States homeland or against our citizens and our interests around the world. Second, that small base in southern Syria is designed to ensure that Iran cannot militarize that foothold on the overland path from Iranian territory into Lebanon to support Hezbollah, a terrorist group that, in fact, we're coming up on the anniversary of when they killed over 240 Americans in Beirut. Those are the two main interests in Syria. The number of troops and the location of those troops in Syria should be able to achieve those two interests.
Okay, yeah, and that sounds like definitely something that we want to maintain and not have them, like you said, grow stronger and team up against us, sort of a thing. Now, Trump had also mentioned some things about oil. I know that had kind of come up a little bit too in this. Do you have any insight on securing oil?
Sure. So most of the oil in Syria is in eastern Syria over towards the direction of Iraq. Most of that has been under the control of Syrian Kurds or other factions that are not aligned with Syria's government. What we don't want to see is Syria taking control of those oil fields, or even worse, Iranian forces taking control of those oil fields, because that'll help Iran evade the oil sanctions we have on Iranian oil, and therefore get more money to fund their campaign of terror throughout the Middle East and their actions against our partners in the Middle East. So when the President is speaking about securing the oil, what I think he means is ensuring that the oil fields in eastern Syria cannot be used by Iran and Syria to evade sanctions on those two countries and undermine our interest in the region.
Okay, I see. Well, that helps me understand a little bit more, too, because, again, I kind of just see lots of the news going on and not too sure sometimes what it all means. So, Senator Tom Cotton, I feel like you've kind of helped me understand a little bit more about what's happening with the troops in Syria, and I appreciate that you have joined us today on News Radio, and hopefully we'll get to chat with you soon.
Good. Thanks, Rebecca. Good to be on with you.